Another day and another massive opportunity for digital extremes and the live service titan that is Warframe. What am I talking about? Well, we're going to jump into it. I am your host, Vault Zero. I make daily Warframe content. So let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes here. Warframe has the massive opportunity to start its own anime series. As you see here in the background, I have the Warframe 99 mini animated episode playing, and it was absolutely a banger. I get excited every time I boot up the game and see just a few seconds of the anime. I think it had so much potential, and I think there would be a really big audience for such a show. But we're going to look at the companies that would be interested in picking up this kind of project from Digital Extremes, the money that can be made, and what kind of stories can be explored in anime form. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that. I'm going to start out with, I think, the opportunities, why I think it makes sense. I think Warframe has never been in a better place than it is now, and combine that with its cult-like fan base, and I say that in the best possible way. Um, Warframe is an extremely successful endeavor for Digital Extremes, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think you look at, they did a couple years ago the Ascension Day, which was based around Styanax, the 50th Warframe. They did a whole mini episode for him. It was their first attempt at an anime. And clearly, the fan base was receptive enough to it that a couple years later, they decided to do another in the Warframe 99 update. And I feel that that's going to be a theme that we see continue. I feel like we're going to continue to get mini animated episodes every time we get a major release, every next major chapter of Warframe, and I'm really excited about that. But I feel like it could be even more. You look at series like Arc, which got animated and picked up by Paramount Plus. I think there's a lot of potential and a lot of money to be made there. You also can look at the show Secret Level, particularly a little lesser known game known as Warhammer 40k, and look at that and look at the immense success that show brought. And I feel I'm not exaggerating when I say that the majority of the success that show is owed can be attributed to the Warhammer 40k episode. And that is because, much like Warframe, they have just an absolutely fanatical fan base, and they really appreciate any extra media they can get covering their favorite game. And that's what it boils down to, is that fans want those extra forms of media, those extra stories being told in different ways that they've never seen before, being shared with them. And I feel like that is why an anime for Warframe would just make sense. Digital Extremes has already shown that they are capable and they're very good at making animes based on, the stories that they want to tell. The only issue that I foresee is that, the argument can be made, well, maybe they wouldn't have the manpower while they continue to not only update Warframe, but also work simultaneously on their sister project in Soulframe. But I feel that can be eliminated with the manpower that would be provided to them by another company that decided to partner and pick up the anime project. And let's talk about a couple different options that would be interested in potentially picking up and producing and airing this animated series. And I think there's really three viable options in particular. You have Paramount Plus, which, like I said, had immense success in the Arc anime show. If you haven't seen the Arc anime show, even if you don't play Arc, I highly recommend it. It is a really, really good show. They really did the game justice, and it's a lot more mature than I expected it to be. So Paramount Plus, number one option. Number two, obviously Prime Video. I think Prime Video is most likely going to be the most realistic option, especially after they picked up Secret Level, produced it. Don't get me wrong, some episodes of Secret Level, from what I've heard, are flops. I haven't actually seen Secret Level myself, but I've heard really good things about the show as a whole. I know there are games and episodes that people didn't really resonate with, i.e., the Concord episode and things like that. I know that games like Outer Worlds, they didn't really introduce enough characters for people to care about, so why would they care about an episode of Secret Level? But then you have episodes about, like I said, for example, Warhammer 40k, which people have been rabid for. They've been wanting more coverage of those type games for a long time, and I feel like Warframe is also overdue with that extra coverage. So Prime Video, I think, is probably the titan that you would want producing your content in an anime form, because they have so many resources that they could just absolutely make sure they did the game justice, and it would be just top quality. And number three, Netflix. I feel like Netflix is probably the most risky. They do have some really good shows out. They do have some really good animes. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Dragon Prince. Obviously, not a video game adaptation, but still a very good show in my opinion. So they would be capable, but I feel like they may be a little more risky to roll the dice on trying to sign a deal producing, this style of anime. Really quick, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you smash that like button. Perhaps subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you here. I'd like to take a second to talk to you guys about channel memberships. We just unlocked channel memberships. Super exciting. We have really cool perks like members only videos, members only polls, so you guys can get a really good hand in what kind of content is going to be coming next to the channel, what kind of subjects you'd like to talk about, and in terms of Warframe lore and things of that nature. We have behind the scenes pictures and videos of just my preparation stuff. And not to mention that by paying memberships, which start at $2.99 a month, you will help me upgrade my audio equipment, which, as I've been told, desperately needs to be done. But like I always say, if that's not something that you guys are comfortable doing right now or can afford doing right now, I completely understand, and your viewership is more than enough for me. We're going to dive into now what kind of stories you could tell, and Warframe is a game that has been out for over a decade. It's not short on characters with interesting stories. The New War showed us that if you just look at the New War alone, you could have an anime episode that talks about Teshin and his backstory. We could finally learn more about his wife Valeria. We could have a backstory about Cal and the Grenier whenever they were first created, or back at how life was for them during the height of the Orcan Empire. We could have the Corpus and Parvos Granum back when he was leading the Corpus and what the Corpus were like at that time. Their exploits around the galaxy. We could have a series based on what the origin system looked like right immediately after the fall of the Orcan Empire. You can imagine the power struggle that took place, and like I said, the formations of the Corpus and Grenier into major factions, major powerhouses, conquering sections of the galaxy for themselves and carving out their own paths. You could really explore that in depth, which I think a lot of players would really appreciate. You could have the Stalker, have his story right after the fall of the Orcan Empire, how he coped with the fall. And not to mention his story and his relationship with Jade. You could explore that further in anime, which I think, like I said, a lot of people would really enjoy seeing. If you didn't want to do a story about the fall of the Orcan Empire, you could do the Old War, which I think a lot of people, like I said, I keep harping on this, but there's so many things that we haven't got to see yet that can be explored in anime that I know my fellow Tenno would love to see. We could explore the Old War, like I said. You can actually go back to the height of the Orcan Empire and look at how the origin system was then. We can get a sense of the Orcan people and their philosophies, their laws, their just how life was at that time. We've been told a little bit in lore, so we have a pretty decent picture of how things were, but we don't have a crystal clear picture, and it could be flushed out even further in a way that a lot of people would enjoy. Not to mention, you have just tons of side characters that are briefly mentioned in lore that we don't really know much about. They're rather mysterious. We have Orden Karis. We have the Grustag 3, We have the Myrmidon. All these are incredibly mysterious characters that stories are absolutely dying to be told. But guys, that's where I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to open the floor now to you guys. What are your thoughts? Would you like to see a Warframe fully fledged animated series, complete with just tons of support on any of the major streaming networks? You guys let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the stars.